सहनः भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Let us read from the verse number 7. योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मा भूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन् ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि संगं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति संगं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये। We are in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The title of the chapter is Karma Sannyasa Yoga. It is renunciation of karma. It is Sannyasa Yoga. The topic is Sannyasa, renunciation. It is tentatively called Karma Sannyasa, renunciation of action. But really what Lord Krishna teaches is renunciation of the notion of doership. Kartrutva Sannyasa. Although he said Karma Sannyasa, renunciation of action, what is meant is Kartrutva Sannyasa, renunciation of the sense of doership. Although, when it comes to karma or action, sannyasa, the word sannyasa, renunciation, can apply in a primary sense, that you renounce your actions. When it comes to kartrutva sannyasa, renunciation of kartrutva, or the sense of kartrutva means sense of doership. So kartrutva sannyasa, the renunciation of sense of doership, is not a sannyasa renunciation really. It does not involve will or action on the part of renuncier, or renunciate rather, but does not renunciate. To renunciate, if it is considered an action, in renunciation of kartrutva or doership, no action is involved. That renunciation takes place. When it comes to karma or the duty, will is involved, action of renunciation involved, you give up the duties by will. But as we have been saying earlier, that's called vividisha sannyasa. The renunciation of duties done for the sake of vividisha, for the sake of fulfilling the desire for knowledge. That vividisha sannyasa, renunciation of duties, facilitates a mumukshu, an aspirant, to leave home and reside with the teacher, with the guru. Now you cannot leave home as long as you are a householder or you are a brahmachari, a grihastha or a vanaprastha. You are brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, a student or a householder or one with a forest dweller, all of them have duties to perform. And the scripture permit this aspirant to give up all the duties so that he can totally devote himself to the pursuit of knowledge without any pressure or compulsion of having to perform any duty. There are no demands on him. So that sannyasa which is done by will is to allow an aspirant to pursue the goal that he or she has. As a result of which, when the knowledge takes place, what is the nature of knowledge? In the 4th chapter, Lord Krishna said, Karmanya karmayah pashyet. One who sees the actionless in action, meaning that one who sees oneself as actionless, when actions are being performed at that time, one who sees oneself as actionless. So that is the knowledge of the self, or knowledge of the self, who is in reality actionless. What is the reason why does Lord Krishna have to say, seeing the actionless self in action? Because Atma, the self, I, who is really actionless, who is devoid of all modifications, movement, change, ever profoundly at peace, abiding in one's own fullness. That self that is actionless in reality is thought to be performing actions. The akarta is thought to be karta or performer of actions, meaning that I normally look upon myself as performer of action. For example, right now I am talking. Habitually, I look upon myself as a speaker. You are listening to this talk. Habitually, you look upon yourself as a listener. Just looking upon oneself as a speaker, hearer, thinker, eater, enjoyer, experiencer, happy, unhappy, this is habitual. We are born with this habit of taking ourselves to be a karta, a doer, bhokta, an enjoyer, experiencer, a pramata, knower, etc. This is the result of ignorance. And this notion that I am a karta, doer of an action, a bhokta, experiencer of the result of the action, pramata, a knower, these notions are accompanied with a sense of limitation, because a performer of action or doer of action is necessarily a limited entity. So an experiencer, bhokta also is a limited entity. A pramata, knower also is a limited entity. So accompanying all these notions about myself is also inherently involved a sense of limitation, that I am a limited being. It is a sense of limitation, that is what causes in me a sense of inadequacy, incompleteness, lack, want, and therefore unhappiness, sorrow. My life is a process of trying to overcome that sorrow, remove that sorrow. Unfortunately, I do not know the cause of my sorrow or grief lies in my wrong perception of myself. I do not know that the cause of sorrow is my conclusion about myself that I am inadequate, limited being. It is that perception, that conclusion, that self-judgment is what is the cause of the sorrow. Not knowing that, I also habitually believe that the cause of my sorrow lies elsewhere. Some person, some situation, some object, something else is the reason for my sorrow. And therefore, my attempts to become free from sorrow are naturally the attempts to remove the cause of sorrow, what I consider the cause of sorrow. And therefore, my actions of seeking happiness, of removing sorrow, are always oriented towards doing something, changing something out there to make favorable what is unfavorable. Unfortunately, as we said, the cause of sorrow is in my wrong perception of myself. So regardless of what I do out there, my perception that I am a doer an experiencer, a karta, bhokta, it doesn't change. So things around me keep on changing. I may change myself, my body I may change, my mind I may change, my intellect I may change. They are all possible to change. In spite of so much effort, I'm struggling to change. Unfortunately, my notion that I am an agent, that I am the one who is changing, I am the doer, experiencer, that kartritva, bhoktritva, these notions never go. The only way the sorrow can go is by removing the true cause of sorrow, which is my perception of myself that I am a doer, I am a karta, experiencer, I am a bhokta, knower, I am a pramata. So that is the reason why Vedanta, and including Bhagavad Gita, impart this knowledge to us. In the 18th verse of 4th chapter, Lord Krishna said, Karmanya karmayah pashed. One who sees the actionless self in action, which is what is described in the verses 8 and 9 of this chapter, which we just read those verses. But a wise person says or sees himself now, Naiva kinchit karometi. Karmani akarmayah pashed. One who sees the actionless self when actions are being performed. So these verses 8 and 9 say, Pashyan, Shrunvan, Sprishan, Jigran. Pashyan while seeing, Shrunvan while hearing, Sprishan while touching, Jigran while smelling, Ashnan while eating, Swapan while sleeping, Shwasan while breathing, Pralapan while talking, etc. Meaning the regular day-to-day activity that we perform. An ignorant person thinks, Pashyan, while the act of seeing takes place, an ignorant person says, I am seeing. Shrunan, when the act of listening takes place, and the ignorant believes, I am the listener. Similarly, I am the toucher, taster, smeller, eater, drinker, sleeper, waker. And if you notice, who is the one that feels sorrow? Who is the one who feels sad? The seer, hearer, thinker, toucher, taster, smeller, walker, talker, knower. This is the one who feels sad. That's the one who always feels sorrowful. And therefore this verse describes the perception or vision of the wise person, of his own self. Naiva kinchit karometi. The act of seeing, hearing, talking, walking is going on. Where is it going on? This verse said, Indriyani indriyatheshu vartante iti dharayan. So his perception is, he sees that what is the act of speaking? It is the organ of speech interacting with the words. What is hearing? The organ of hearing interacting with the sound. What is seeing? Organ of seeing interacting with the colors and forms. Indriyani, the respective sense organs of action, of perception, or even mind. Indriyartheshu vartante, they interact with the respective objects. That is really what is going on when actions are performed. What's the role of the self or the Atma in all these actions? Naiva kinchit karometi. The wise person's perception is, I do not do anything. Kinchit naiva karomi. I don't do anything whatever. So much activity is going on. talking, thinking, walking, eating, everything is going on. He says, Naiva kinchit karomidi, I do not do anything. So this is the true perception of the self. Karmani akarmayah pashed. Karmani, while actions are being performed at the level of body, sense organs, mind, speech, etc., one who knows that it is in my presence that actions are taking place. This knowledge is the true sannyasa or renunciation, which liberates me from the sorrow that I myself created over myself by judging myself as a speaker, hearer, thinker, doer, experiencer. Had as though created sorrow for my own self. I stopped doing that and I recognize myself as free from sorrow, of the nature of happiness. So this is the solution that Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita presents for the fundamental problem of our life, which Bhagavad Gita identifies as Shoka and Moha. Grief and delusion, Shoka, Moha are the problems. Mohammed Aviveka. And so by Viveka, by this, the true knowledge, the Shoka, the grief is removed. So this is the basic theory or the basic perception of Bhagavad Gita. Well, that means a wise man does not perform action. Then one would think that for becoming a renunciate of action in a true sense, I should renounce, I should not perform the action. Wise person is a liberated person, the one who does not perform action. Then one may conclude that not performing action is a means of gaining the knowledge of actionless self. Lord Krishna says no. न कर्मणाम अनारंभात नैष्कर्म्यम पुरुषोस्नुते. Karmanam anarambhat. It is not by non-performance of action or duty. What is meant by duty is responding to a situation which is appropriate for that situation, for me, doing what is right in a given situation. Refraining what your duty is, you do not gain naishkarmya or the state of actionlessness. That's a sanyasanadeva. Not even by officially renouncing action that you become actionless. Actionless is what you already are. You do recognize that you are actionless. However, recognizing that I am actionless, even when actions are being performed at the level of body, speech, mind, etc., requires a certain disposition of mind. It requires a mind which is totally free from all distractions, free from the influence of the activities taking place at sense levels, etc. In the Vedantic words, it requires Shuddhantahkaram, a pure intellect, free from rajas and tamas, impurities of rajas and tamas. Essentially a sattvic mind. We need that kind of a mind to recognize the actionless that I am, actionless self that I am. Therefore, karma yoga is presented as the means to this knowledge, which is what Lord Krishna said in the verse number 10, Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karotiyah. The karma yoga the Lord has already taught, second chapter, third chapter, is summarized again here, and maybe summarized later also, but summarized here. What is karma yoga? It's performance of karma with its right attitude. What is the attitude of a karma yogi? Lord Krishna, Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha, in the verse number 10. Sangam tyaktva, by giving attachment to sangha, sangha means attachment to karma phala, to the result of action. What is meant is, the action is not motivated by a particular result. This karma yogi does not perform an action because he wants to produce a certain outcome which he considers favorable to himself. Meaning that the result or outcome of the action is not the criterion for performing action. Then what's the criterion for performing action? Brahmanyadhaya karmani, Brahmani karmani adhaya. An action is performed not to produce for oneself a favorable result, for a personal agenda, as prompted by a person's own agenda or desire. There is not the motivating force for action of a karma yogi. Then what motivates him? Brahmani adhaya karmani. So, Brahmani adhaya nikshipya, Brahmani Ishvara, offering the action to Ishvara. Meaning performing an action to fulfill Ishvara's agenda, put it this way. So an action can be performed to fulfill the personal agenda, which is what normally a person does. Because we generally perform actions to fulfill our desires, our needs. Nothing wrong in that. But that does not bring about the true happiness. Action performed to fulfill a desire may fulfill the desire, may bring about a desirable end, and may give me a satisfaction of having fulfilled a desire. Give me a sense of success. But there is only short-term gain for a long-term pain. Because that way, my mind always wants more and more and more, because no outcome can give me any lasting satisfaction or a sustained satisfaction, can give me a temporary satisfaction. My mind enjoys that satisfaction, and then when the effect is over, it feels again the same void within itself, and then wants something else. When I perform an action to fulfill a desire is a result of an inner void that I feel within myself. Inner void, inner lack, want that I feel within myself, that is what results in a desire. And then usually a person performs an action to get rid of that inner void or lack or want. And it may happen momentarily when the desired result comes. But unfortunately, the cause of the void is not unfulfilled desire, is something else. And therefore that void comes back, which brings about another desire, another action. So this is a binding process that I get shackled by, this chain of action and reaction, and action and reaction. I always depend upon something else to make me happy. In this process of performing action for a desirable end, it is assumed that I am hoping for something desirable to happen so that I can be happy. And therefore, all throughout there is dependence, uncertainty, dependence, which is what we call bondage. So this process perpetuates dependence. perpetuates bondage, perpetuates lack or want, perpetuates inner void, which then comes out in different desires, different expectations, different hopes. So Lord Krishna says that perform action not as motivated by inner void or lack or want, because that is not the reality about you, that's the conclusion about you. That you feel an inner void, an inner lack, that is not the reality about you, that's not the right perception of you. That is the wrong perception about you. Who is you? You are a full and complete being. You are limitless by nature. Unfortunately, we are born with this false perception of ourselves that I am a lacking, wanting being. This is my perception or conclusion about myself, which is wrong. If I lead my life based on the wrong conclusion, it will never be corrected. That conclusion will reappear in many forms. So Lord Krishna says, therefore, do not act based on this wrong perception of yourself. Then what do we do? Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karodhyah. Now the agenda of performing the action is not to fill up that void by result of an action. Is to try to fill up that void by making an action an offering to Ishvara. Brahman is Ishvara. Perform an action as an offering to Ishvara, as a worship to Ishvara. Swakarmana tamabhyarcha siddhim vindati manavaha. In the 18th chapter, Lord Krishna will say, worshipping that Lord by one's own karma. Yatah pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tadam. Yatah pravrittir bhutanam. The one who is the source of all the activities of everybody and everything, who is the impeller of all the action. Yena sarvamidam tatam. One by whom everything is pervaded, who is the self of all. Tam Ishvaram. Swakarmana tam abhyarcha. Worshipping that Ishvara, who is the self of all, who is the true source of all activities, by whose grace all action is being performed, who is the dispenser of the results, whose agenda is to maintain harmony in the universe, who sees the whole universe as one homogeneous whole, for whom all the beings are equal, and therefore Ishvara who acts in the spirit of the well-being of all the beings, that is Ishvara. That means, therefore, offering actions to Ishvara means as much as possible trying to adopt that vision of Ishvara, that may my action be the source of happiness to everybody. May this be offered for the well-being of all. This is a tall order. It's a huge agenda. But this is the idea, which our Pujya Swami used to describe as a contributor. The one who performs action to fulfill the personal agenda is the consumer. One who performs an action to fulfill the agenda of the universe, or whatever I consider as universe around me, he is a contributor. Thus transforming myself from being consumer to a contributor. That lacking, wanting being is slowly transformed into a giving being, contributing being, which process is conducive to discovering my wholeness. I don't become whole right away, but that's a process which is conducive to discovering my wholeness, my self-sufficiency. So one is a process where the self-insufficiency is perpetuated when the action is performed to fulfill the agenda of the ego, to try to satisfy that lack or want. Other is, same action is performed by change of attitude. As an offering to Ishvara, to the cosmos, to the universe, to the world, to the environment, to wherever I am, as an offering, which is conducive to discovering one's own sufficiency. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karotyah. This is being told to Arjuna, who believes that performing action, karmana baddhyate jantuhu, that a jantu or an individual is bound by performance of karma. So, Lord, how can I become free by performance of karma? The usual belief or conclusion is that karma binds me, which is what my experience has been. Lord Krishna is teaching here, it is not the karma that binds. It is the wrong attitude accompanying karma that binds. The karma performed for fulfilling one's personal agenda. Karma or action performed for self-gratification, that's what binds. Same karma, when performed for fulfilling Ishvara's agenda, becomes a freeing action. Yoga karma sukausaram. Lord Krishna said in the second chapter, the yoga, this attitude. So that's a karma yogi or a devotee or an aspirant or mumukshu looks upon every opportunity to perform karma as an opportunity to grow, opportunity to make one's offering, an opportunity to tap into one's own satisfaction or wholeness. Lipyate nasapapena padmapatra vimambasa. This karma yogi does not become tainted by papa or punya, by the result of the action, because action is not performed for any personal agenda. And so in the verse 11 it is said, Kayena manasa buddhya kevalair indriyarapi yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. A karma yogi performs action kayena manasa buddhya, by body, by the mind, by the intellect, by the speech, by the organs of action, organs of perception, mind, intellect, like we do. The only difference is kevalehi indriyahi. Kevali, merely by the sense organs. So Bhashyakara explains, as we said last time, that sarva vyaparishu mamata varjanaya. A yogi does not have a sense of ownership with his body, sense organs, mind. He doesn't look upon himself the owner of these things. Look at Ishvara as the owner of his upadhi. His body, sense organs, mind all given by Ishvara. Therefore, they should be employed for fulfilling Ishvara's purpose. So, what do I gain in that process? Yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. Atma shuddhi, antahkarana shuddhi for the purification of the mind. That happens by the way. You don't even have to aim for that. This very attitude is purifying attitude. The self-centered attitude is that which is conducive to intensifying self-centeredness, the impurity of the mind. The other-centered attitude also can be called selfless attitude, or offering action in the spirit of worship to Ishvara, is conducive to removing self-centeredness. That's called impurity. Sangam tektva atma shuddhe. You said earlier, it is self-centeredness, selfishness, which is what is in fact stifling the expression of myself, my wholeness. Even though wholeness is my nature, what stifles the manifestation of that? What is the obstruction to manifestation of my wholeness? Is this self-centered attitude. And therefore, Lord Krishna wants us to deliberately cultivate the other-centered attitude, Ishvara-centered attitude. May an action become an act of worship to Ishvara. Swakarmana tamabhyarcha siddhim vindati manavaha. Worshipping Ishvara by one's own karma, you attain the antahkarana shuddhi, purification of mind, which leads to knowledge. I said earlier, yoga yukto visuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarvabhutatma bhutatma kurandapena lipyate. Yoga yukto visuddhatma. One end of this yoga, this attitude of Ishvara buddhi, of the attitude of worshipping Ishvara, pleasing Ishvara, offering to Ishvara. Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, Jitendriya, the transformation takes place. That the mind becomes slowly free from the impurities of rajas, tamas, self-centeredness. Mind becomes calmer and therefore becomes more composed, and thus more and more favorable to me, conducive to me, helpful to me. I become slowly a master of my mind, master of my upadhi, Vijitatma, master of the sense organs. Sarvabhutat, he discovers his knowledge that I am the self of all, and that I am not doing actions even when actions are being performed. So this Karma Yoga is presented as a means of knowledge, as a means of sannyasa. What sannyasa? The Vidya sannyasa. Sannyasa by virtue of knowledge. Next verse, which is verse 20, verse number 12. Now Lord Krishna is going to describe the sannyasi. Before that, just to clarify, that a karma yogi also has kartrutva, he also has sense of doership. In aviveki, a non-discriminating person, a samsari also has sense of doership that I am doing the action. A karma yogi also has sense of doership. What's the reason that an action binds this ignorant person or aviveki, non-discriminating person, and does not bind the karma yogi? Karma yogi is viveki, other one is aviveki. Viveki means one who knows the scheme of things. One who has clarity about how to slowly overcome this ignorance and come out of that and then gain knowledge. Other one does not understand that. So kartrutva is there. The nature of kartrutva is different. The kartrutva are the actions of an ignorant or aviveki, non-discriminating person, are controlled by rajas and tamas, a sense of self-centeredness. Whereas kartrutva is there in the karma yogi also, except that he his actions, his sense of doership is sattvic doership. He is a devotee. So, just because you perform the action does not mean the action binds you. If you perform an action with the attitude of worship, then that action, the result, doesn't bind you. We said earlier, Lord Krishna is summarizing that again in the verse number 12. So let's read the verse number 12. Yuktah karma phalam tyaktva shantimapnoti naishthiki ayuktah kamakarena phale sakto nibadhyate. Comparing the two. Even though both these persons are performing action, a karma yogi and another aviveki, a non-discriminating person, non-understanding person, a worldly person. By worldly, we do not mean working in the world. Worldly means one who has this kind of thinking. I am for myself, the action is for myself. Yuktah karma phalam tyaktva shantimapnoti naishtikim. Yukta means a yogi. And the attitude of yogi was described earlier. Brahmanyadhaya karmani, in the verse number 10, one who performs action as an offering to Ishvara. He is a devotee. A karma yogi is a devotee. A bhakta who performs an action of spirit of bhakti or devotion is an offering to Ishvara. May Ishvara be pleased by this. Doesn't matter what action he is performing. It can be the action of a sweeper or an action of a king or the whole range. Any action doesn't matter. Lord Krishna doesn't talk about what action it is, the attitude. Therefore, a sweeper also can be a karma yogi. The king also can be a samsari. Depends on the attitude that makes a yogi or a bhogi. Yukta, a yogi who has the right attitude, who is the bhakta or devotee of the Lord, who performs action as an offering to Ishvara. Karma phalam tyaktva, giving up the attachment to karma phala. Meaning karma phala is not the motivating factor for the yogi. A yogi, when he performs karma, he will get karma phala. Karma will produce karma phala, not that he will not get. But that is not the consideration. What will be the outcome? Will I get some desirable things to enjoy? Will I get sense gratification, emotional gratification, ego gratification, some gratification? Normally a person performs action as a means of gratification. This is not the criterion for a karma yogi. Let Ishvara be gratified. Let Ishvara be pleased with his action. And we discussed it earlier. Ishvara is pleased when action is performed on the basis of dharma, righteousness. For is an offering to the environment, to the totality. With as little as self-centeredness in that. Yukta karma phalam tyaktva. This is the karma yogi. Tyaktva, giving up. Karma phalam means the attachment to the karma phalam, means the result of the action, but attachment to the result of action. Ownership to the result of the action. The result is not mine. Karma I am performing all right, but I have no ownership as far as the outcome is concerned. Ownership belongs to Ishvara. Because all the means of performing action, so body, mind, sense organs, all of this belongs to Ishvara. And I am performing action by what is given to me by Ishvara and then for the sake of Ishvara. So Karma Yogi does not have ownership as far as the result is concerned. Meaning that he or she does not look upon result as a means of gratification. For the yogi, it is karma that is the means of gratification. That attitude gives him gratification. I feel myself a privileged person that I have an opportunity to perform this action, an opportunity to make an offering to Ishvara. Something is there in the air here. So what does this lead to? Yukta karma phalam tyaktva. By making this sacrifice of a personal gain, shantim apnoti naishtikim. He attains peace, naishtikim shantim, arising from nishtha, arising from abidance in the self. He gains that abiding peace. What it means is that for a karma yogi, it is not that someday the shanti comes. It is true that gaining that abiding peace is a process. But what I do today, if it's done rightly, it culminates into that kind of abiding peace, which means that every action performed with the right attitude results into shanti, into peace of mind. In the 12th chapter, Lord Krishna says, Tyagat Shanti Anantaram. When there is tyaga, renunciation of self-agenda, renunciation of self-centeredness, renunciation of the agenda of self-gratification, that is called renunciation, tyaga. Tyaga, Shanti, and right away there is Shanti or the peace of mind. Because it is this whole attitude of mind that this is mine, ownership, this is my result, which he looks upon as a means of self-gratification, that creates the Shanti. Which the next line will say. We can create our own peace, our own happiness by the right attitude. That's what Lord Krishna teaches. Yukta karma phalam tyaktva shantim apnoti naishtikim. Yukta, a yogi, a devotee, a bhakta, aspirant, a mumukshu. Karma phalam tyaktva, by giving up the ownership to karma phala, by giving the claims to the outcome there is an action, and performing action as an offering to Ishvara. That very attitude brings about peace of mind. So I think a good test will be, am I performing action with the right attitude? Did that karma produce peace of mind? Or it produces a disturbance in the mind. Shanti, and then in course of time, naishtikim shantim, and abiding peace. As Bhashyakara says, this process brings about purification of mind. The raga dvesha, is slowly gotten rid of. Creates viveka, vairagya, samadhi shatka sampatti in the mind. Mokshutvam, a strong desire for moksha. It will open up the whole path. Tad vidhi pranipatena. Then a guru will come along, or I will go to a guru. It will all happen. And Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhyas, knowledge will take place. And I will discover myself as a self having the nature of abiding peace. Yukta karma phalam tyaktva. Just one simple thing of giving ownership to karma phala. Not connecting myself, not judging myself by karma phala. Usually when the karma is performed, if the result is success, I brand myself successful. And then I get gratification from a sense of success. If the outcome is failure, I brand myself failure, then there is sorrow coming from that. Thus I react to karma phalas with harsha and shuka, elation and depression. Giving up that connection. Karma phala is karma phala. I am the performer of karma and nothing to do with karma phala. That is Ishvara's creation. Let it, I offer it to Ishvara. So this is the way of gaining peace of mind, happiness of the mind. How to make ourselves happy. Lord Krishna teaches art of happiness. This art of happiness. This right attitude is the way I can make myself happy. In contrast, second line is ayuktah kamakarena phale sakto nibadhyate. Ayukta, who is not a yogi, who is not a bhakta, who is not a mokshu, who only wants worldly ends. So he performs an action to fulfill some worldly desire. A karma yogi performs action for purification of mind, which is the same as peace of mind. This one performs action to fulfill his desire, sense of gratification. Ayukta. Which means that when this person performs action, there is no Ishvara there, there is no bhakti, there is no devotion, no offering, no contribution. It is consumption, a self-centered person who sees only his fulfilling his agenda. A non-inclusive person, you can say. A karma yogi is an inclusive person. He includes the well-being or the interest of others. A akarma yogi, non-karma yogi, a samsari, a worldly person, only has his own interest in mind. Ayuktaha, who is not an inclusive person, who is a self-centered person, who looks at his own interest only. Kama karena phale sakto nibadhyate. Interesting expression, kama karena. Bhashya is karanam karaha, kamasya karaha, kama karaha, tena kama karena, kama preritaya. One who acts as impelled by the desire, kama karena. One who acts under the impulsion of desire. So desire is a controlling factor as far as a akarma yogi is concerned, non-karma yogi is concerned, a worldly person is concerned, aviveki is concerned, a non-thinking person is concerned. A wrong-thinking person is concerned. The only difference is, in case of karma yogi, it is the spirit of offering to Ishvara that controls action. In case of this bhogi, it is the desire to fulfill one's own requirement, expectation, self-gratification is what controls action. Action being the same. Phale sakto nibadhyate. Therefore, this one performs action as attached to the result. I am the owner of the outcome. Outcome belongs to me. It is for my own fulfillment, for my own consumption. So an action is performed as a means of consumption of the outcome. For yogi, an action is performed as a means of offering the outcome. Karma will produce karma phala. Outcome will be there. Why do I perform action? It is an offering. The karma phala is offered to Ishvara. For a bhogi, karma phala is for my own consumption. So, phale sakto nibadhyate. Phale sakta, attached to the result, meaning that one for whom who is motivated only by result, by the desire for the result, for a personal agenda, for a sense of self-gratification. Nibaddhate, he is bound. This attitude of personal agenda, self-centeredness, you can never get rid of it by fulfilling that attitude. It's like fire. More butter you pour into fire, fire becomes more and more demanding. So also, this whole need of self-gratification, more we try to fulfill that, more demanding it becomes, and more therefore mind is more and more disturbed, more and more restless. One is a process conducive to peace of mind, other is a process which is conducive to the disturbance of the mind, the restlessness of the mind, which is unhappiness of the mind. One is a process conducive for happiness to the mind, conducive to the happiness of the mind, other process conducive to the unhappiness of the mind. Just the change of attitude. One need not change the station of life. You know, change what one is doing. If you want, you can always change, but that is not what Lord Krishna says is necessary. What you do is decided not always by you, it's decided by conditions, circumstances. We don't always have freedom to decide what we do. Sometimes the conditions decide them. I may have some agenda and that may not come true, and therefore I have to submit myself to the situations. But what attitude to maintain is under my control. And that makes the whole difference. So this Karma Yoga is briefly described here by extolling the Karma Yogi and simultaneously also by condemning the Akarma Yogi or a Bhogi or a non-discriminating person. We'll continue our discussion in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru